What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Valley Ball Podcast, talking UTRGV Vaqueros football here in their inaugural season. My name is Brian Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios and Brian. I mean, just a tough one last week, man. I mean, obviously we expected a tough test and things didn't go the way for UTRGV. I mean, just how are we feeling after that last week's performance and headed into this final three-game stretch, man?
Yeah, UTRGV's inaugural season, the Vaqueros dropped to to 6-3 overall after falling on the road against Stephen F. Austin, the number 23 ranked Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks last week in Nacogdoches. And man, it was a tough game, man. Stephen F. Austin pulls out a 41-17 win, and they really dominate from start to finish. But the Stephen F. Austin team, Coach Bush, he said it all week. This is the best team we've seen on film. And then against Stephen F. Austin, it kind of played out that way on Saturday. They go into hostile territory and they're up against it, man. They fall in a big hole. They're not unable. They start slow again on the road. They're unable to climb out of that hole, man. So, Vaqueros, it's a tough game, but for UTRGV, man, it's a good look at what UTRGV football hopes to become and where they hope to be in years competing for Southland Conference titles, competing for a spot in that FCS playoffs. So, Ivan, just your thoughts on the Vaqueros? Yeah, they fall to 6-3, 2-3 in conference play, but like we said, this is what the Vaqueros want to be and build themselves into, which is a contender in conference and on the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Bush put it best. I mean, it's just this team is the better team, and they're one of the better teams in Southland Conference, if not the best. And he owned up to it. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't blame the players. He didn't blame the coaching. It's just they flat out got outplayed and outperformed by a better team that day. And I think that speaks volumes to this team. And obviously a loss is a loss, but you come out and you compete against a team like this, and you just take your hits there and move on to the next one. So obviously, you don't want to lose, but this is a learning process still. This is still year one at the end of the day. We're still building this program up. We're only 9 games into this thing, and it's going to happen times like this. You're just going to face better teams, more experienced teams. So nothing to hang your hat on there at UTRGV. You just kind of got to keep growing from this. And like you said, you see now what you want to become. It's kind of a firsthand experience of the teams that you guys want to play up to and that level that you want to reach here and what you're kind of growing towards. So yeah, you lose the game, but you got to leave away with your some lessons there and kind of just, all right, this is where we stack up right now. We still got some work to do. And it seems like that's what Coach Bush and this team is ready to do. They are ready to move on from it and kind of learn from that early season, or not early season, but that loss to a really good SFA team.
Yeah, this is their UTRGV's third loss of the year. Each of their two previous losses, they both happened on the road. The Vaqueros were able to bounce back from both of those. Then the following week, with a return to Vackar Stadium here at Edinburgh on their home turf. So the Vaqueros will have that opportunity to do so. They got Nicholls coming up this week. We'll get into a preview a little later. But first, we're going to keep on talking about a little bit about this Stephen F. Austin game, man. And the Vaqueros, man, I mean, it just so happened. I mean, this is the way the Vaqueros inaugural Southland Conference schedule worked out. You play Southeastern Louisiana on the road in Hammond, Louisiana. You play the Lamar Cardinals in Beaumont. You play the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks in Nacogdoches, and those three teams happen to be the top three teams in the Southland. All three ranked in the FCS top 25. All three on the road for the Vaqueros. And hey, man, that's just the way it breaks. You know what I mean? The schedules are random. One week, one year you play a team at home. The next year you play that same team. On the road. And so the Vaqueros next year, they'll have all these three big dogs coming into Vackar Stadium. But here in their inaugural season, all three of those games on the road. And man, the Vaqueros were up against it heading to Nacogdoches this past weekend. They lose that one 41-17. They fall in a 27 nothing hole at the half. And really, Ivan, I mean, the Stephen F. Austin defense, they're one of the best in the nation. They're the top defense in the Southland. They're the number one defense in the nation in yards allowed, and I believe he was number 8 in scoring before this week. So I mean, and against the Vaqueros, man, that defense was disruptive. The defensive front was just winning right away and in the backfield, and just making things complicated. They were disruptive. They were dominant. Didn't let things develop downfield, and it just took the Vaqueros offense out of rhythm there in the entire first half. In the second half, the Vaqueros kind of abandoned the run. They were unable to run the ball at all. There was little to no room all night. But finally, there in the later in the second half, the Vaqueros were able to find some rhythm. 38-yard field goal from Bryson Gardner to open the second half after receiving the second half kickoff. To end the third quarter, Eddie Lee Marburg connects with Tony Diaz on a 2-yard touchdown on a goal line fade in the left corner of the end zone. Tony Diaz makes another sick one-handed grab in the left corner of the end zone for a UTRGV touchdown. And then Aiden Jacobson in the fourth quarter with about 2 minutes left after Eddie Lee Marburger had been pulled from the game, he runs for a 6-yard touchdown to make it the 41-17 final. But Ivan, I mean, we touch on some bright spots. Just your thoughts on what UTRGV can take from this, going up against the team and seeing a true top 20 team going against them, and what UTRGV can take away from it, and what UTRGV can do going forward as they enter the final month, or excuse me, the final 3 games of their inaugural season.
Yeah, I mean, you take away some of those bright, performances. I mean, let's talk about Tony Diaz. He's been balling out all year. I mean, he catches 6 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown there against a really good SFA defense. That speaks volume to the kind of player he is. And defensively, I mean, Jaden Haygood, 11 tackles. Noah Huerta, I mean, Nathan Huerta, my bad. Nathan Huerta with the sack. Sorry, I just covered Harlingen last week, so, it's still in my head. But, you got to take away some of those positive performances and build off of them. Obviously, the offense didn't play to their standard. They're averaging way more at home, and this offense has shown it's explosive. But you take the little wins there and kind of build off of that. And like we mentioned before, that this is kind of that standard that you kind of see the bar where it's at. You see where you stack up against these really good programs. So now it's what do you do from here now? You gotta, that mental toughness is where this is where it's going to come to play. Do you just throw in the towel for the last 3 games of the season, or do you turn around? Like you said, they've bounced back after every loss so far, and in big ways that they're at Vackar Stadium. So can they do it once again here, after this one? And I think they can, man. I mean, they got the players that are hungry. They got the players that have shown that they're resilient. They've done it before. So it's just moving forward from this, and I think hold yourself accountable to it, and not blame it anywhere else. Like we said, they've done a good job of that all year. It's never been, oh, it's his fault, this fault. Everyone kind of holds their own and owns up to it, and they move on. And I expect this team to do the same going into this next week's matchup against a very tough Nicholls opponent that we'll dive into here in a bit.
Yeah, that's all you can do, man. All you got is each other. You're in that locker room. You're going to war every Saturday, man. And the Vaqueros, they got 3 more wars to fight, man, coming up to finish their inaugural season. But against Stephen F. Austin, man, I mean, the Lumberjacks, they're as good as it gets. They're a team that is likely to win the Southland, has a good chance of making the FCS playoffs, even if they don't win the Southland. But as a team, man, they outgained the UTRGV Vaqueros 448 to 215 on the night. UTRGV offense runs for 100 yards. Pet throws for 115 yards, and defensively they give up 183 yards on the ground to Stephen F. Austin and 265 through the air. So I mean, Stephen F. Austin, man, they're just a really good program this year. The players were after. I mean, they just all you can do is tip your cap. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. It's college football. Some games you're going to win big. Some games you're going to lose big. You're going to win heartbreakers. You're going to lose heartbreakers, and that's just college football, man. So UTRGV, they fall to 6-3 overall in their inaugural season after falling on the road against the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks, and that's the Vaqueros' third consecutive ranked road opponent, man. And that's just for an inaugural team, for a startup program in their inaugural season. I mean, I don't care who you are. That's tough for anybody to play 3 ranked opponents all on the road to start Southland Conference play. So, but like we said, I mean, the Vaqueros, they've bounced back from the 2 previous losses. They went to Hammond, Southeastern, to face Southeastern Louisiana, lost that one, 45-31. Bounced back after they had bounced back that next week against Houston Christian. Then they go on the road and fall against Lamar, 23-21 in a very winnable game. Last minute, 57-yard field goal from Lamar. That's what it took to beat the Vaqueros. So they thought that was a very winnable game that they come out on the wrong side of. Then they come back the very next week, bounce back against defending Southland Conference champion Incarnate Word for a 56-28 win. And then now go on the road, lose against SFA. Now back at home, Vackar Stadium this week at 5 p.m. kickoff against Nicholls as the Vaqueros will look to bounce back once again. So we got Nicholls up next, man. I mean, the UTRGV Vaqueros, they're entering the final stretch of their regular season. They got 3 games remaining, 2 of them at home. It starts this week against Nicholls, 5 p.m. Saturday at Vackar Stadium. The following week, the Vaqueros go to Lake Charles as they take on the McNeese Cowboys on the road for their final road game of their inaugural season, and then they'll wrap up their inaugural season right here back at Vackar Stadium, a place they're 5-0 as they host the East Texas A&M Lions in the regular season finale at Vackar Stadium. So Ivan, the Vaqueros, they enter the fourth quarter of their regular season. Coach Bush has broken up their 12 games into 4 different quarters. The first quarter they go 3-0, second quarter 2-1, third quarter, which was the toughest, they finished 1-2. Now they enter that fourth quarter, 3 more games here at home. What were your thoughts on the Vaqueros as they enter this final stretch of the season with 2 of 3 games back here at Vackar, a place they haven't lost at home this season?
It's like you mentioned, man. I mean, that third quarter was their toughest stretch that we knew it was going to be tough. You got 2 of the top, ranked teams this year, and then you got UIW, the defending Southland Conference champs, sandwiched in between that. So to come away with a win in one of those 3 contests when most people might have expected you to go 0-3 is huge for them. Now you got a chance to close out, like you mentioned, 2 of the last 3 at home, 3 opponents all under 500, and just 3 very winnable games where you can possibly end the season, your inaugural season at 9-3. But it starts this week against Nicholls, a very tough opponent that on paper, yeah, they're 3-6, but they're 3-2 in conference play. They've won 2 straight since losing. I think they went like on a 6-game losing streak, something like that. But 2 straight wins there, and they're coming in hot and ready. No one wants to lose. I think UTRGV has a little target on their back this year because they're the new team. No one wants to lose to the new kids on the block. They want to put them in their place, and UTRGV's been on the opposite of that. They're kind of trying to establish themselves. So every team's going to give them their best, and I expect no different when Nicholls comes to town. But it won't be a walk in the park. We talked about this offense earlier, and this offense, they like to run the ball. They like to control that time of possession. They're averaging almost 32 minutes of possession there, and they want to play keep away from you. And that's going to be the biggest test for UTRGV this week. Can they limit those possessions and force those early long yardage situations and force them to pass? And it's going to be a very exciting one there at Vackar Stadium, and it's going to be a physical one. It's going to be a little bit of a grinder compared to some of the shootouts we've seen. At least on paper, that's what it seems like. But I mean, Brian, what do you think UTRGV needs to do in this one as prepare for Nicholls, who's riding that 2-game winning streak coming to town?
Yeah, the Vaqueros. I mean, they're 5-0 at home, looking to go to 6-0 right here at Vackar Stadium, and it'll be a challenge to have their work cut out for them as Nicholls likes to run the ball, keep the play, keep away, and limit your possessions. And the Vaqueros, man, we've seen them start fast at home, pretty much every single game that they've played here at Vackar Stadium. So we'll see if the Vaqueros can start fast after starting slow on the road last week against Stephen F. Austin. I mean, the Vaqueros have found something that works here, and it's always easier to play at home, especially when you got La Chona playing. You know what I mean? Here at Vackar Stadium. But yeah, when you look at this Nicholls team, man, I mean, yeah, don't let the record deceive you. They're 3-6 overall, 3-2 in conference play. But just a couple years ago, man, these guys were the Southland Conference champions. There's still guys on this roster that know what it's like to win the Southland Conference title, so that were part of that team. So now, when you look at Nicholls, what they've done this year, they opened the season week 0 against Incarnate Word on ESPN2, a nationally broadcast game. They win that one 20-6, and then, as you said, Ivan, they go on a 6-game losing streak. A couple D1 FBS opponents in there during that streak. They lose to Troy on the road, 38-20. They lose to West Georgia FCS D1 opponent, 34-10. Lose to Texas State, of course, FBS D1 opponent, 35-3. Then they lose to Eastern Kentucky, 27-7. And then in conference play, They opened up with a 24 to 17 loss against Lamar, a 34 to 7 loss against Stephen F. Austin, but now feeling a little hot, man, coming into this one, coming down to the Valley with a couple 31-7 wins last week over McNeese, and then just this past Saturday, 31-7 over Houston Christian. So, yeah, the Vaqueros, man, I mean, this Nicholls team is playing some good football right now. They've won their last two. We'll see if the Vaqueros can end that streak as the Vaqueros look to bounce back from their third loss of their inaugural season here in year one for UTRGV. So, yeah, Ivan, just your thoughts. I mean, we've seen the Vaqueros put up some numbers here. We've seen them play some lights out defense. So, what are you expecting out of Saturday's matchup, 5 p.m. Saturday here at Vackar Stadium here in Edinburgh, Texas?
I expected to start with the defense. Like we mentioned, this Nicholls team wants to run the ball. They want to play keep away. So force those long yardages early and force them to pass. And then in the offense, I expect them to light it up. I mean, Tony Diaz, Xavier Nolan, Ishmael Smith Flores, and even the running backs, Nate Denny, guys like TJ Dement, Fabian Garcia, they play really well at home. So if your defense can force those stops, get you the ball, I expect that offense to be just as explosive. But it's going to start on defense. If you have maybe 4 or 5 possessions a game, and you're going to have to make every single one count, but the defense can really step up, force those long yardages, force some quick 3-and-outs, man. I expect that this UTRGV offense to bounce back in a big way. Eddie Lee's shown that he can do it. We mentioned the receivers and that O line, man. I mean, it should be a fun one there at Nicholls, and like I said, it's going to start with that defense, really in the trenches, man. Those guys are up front are going to have to do some work this week. They're going to have to get in there, get dirty, and get those stops, and it should make for a fun one there as these Vaqueros try to close out with a little 3-game winning streak. And I think it's very possible, Brian. I mean, like we mentioned, these teams are all under 500, but they're also, right there. Nicholls 3-2 in conference, McNeese 2-3 in conference, and then you got East Texas A&M 2-3 as well. So they're all kind of right there on that bubble
Mhm.
with UTRGV. So it's going to make some interesting ones, but all very winnable games for UTRGV here down the stretch.
Yeah, and it'll be a challenge, man. I mean, the Vaqueros, when you look at this Nicholls roster, man, they got D1 FBS guys all across the roster. You look at it, they got LSU guys, Coastal Carolina guys, Louisiana Tech, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, just dudes from all over at the FBS level here on this Nicholls team. So it'll be another challenge for the Vaqueros. But hey, man, the Vaqueros got some dudes as well, man, that are going to be looking to bounce back here at Vackar Stadium. As the Vaqueros, they'll look to improve to 7-3 overall. I mean, Ivan, they're already 6-3. Uh, they're already at 500. They're guaranteed a 500 finish in their inaugural season. Any wins above that, yeah, put them over 500. They got 3 opportunities to do that, so they can finish 9-3. They can also finish 6-6. We'll see what the Vaqueros do as they enter the final 3 games of the regular season here in year one for college football, D1 college football here in the Rio Grande Valley, man. So UTRGV, Nicholls, 5 p.m. Saturday at Vackar Stadium. Just 2 more home opportunities for the Vaqueros to catch the Vaqueros here in Edinburgh. So we hope to see. I mean, they've had 5 straight sellouts. We hope to see that number 7 at the end of the season with those 7 home games. So UTRGV Nicholls 5 p.m. Saturday at Vackar Stadium as the Vaqueros look to bounce back and improve to 7-3 overall. 3-3 in Southland Conference play in their inaugural season. So, Ivan, I mean, with that look at this Saturday's game for the UTRGV Vaqueros, we also got to talk about some upcoming games for the Vaqueros as we start to look forward to the 2026 and schedule and everything in the future coming up. I mean, these teams they build these schedules years in advance. That's how it works. And the latest news, which came out about midweek last week, the UTRGV Vaqueros have their first ever FBS opponent. It'll be a non-conference game in the 2026 season, September 5th, on the road against the UTSA Roadrunners at the Alamo Dome. I mean, Ivan, just your thoughts on this matchup for the UTRGV Vaqueros facing the UTSA Roadrunners. We know there's plenty of ties between UTSA and Coach Bush and the UTRGV team, and of course, we know the rivalries between the San Antonio area and the Valley when it comes to high school sports and stuff like that. So, just your thoughts on UTRGV scheduling their first FBS opponent in UTSA next year to kick off the 2026 season.
Yeah, man, I think this is one that the fans had been calling for since UTRGV announced their season. They wanted to play that UTSA squad. It's a little bit of a rivalry you mentioned. They have that thing called Valley Week in high school football. Well, now, we got a Valley team coming to UTSA to get a little, try to get something for the Valley there in 2026 and hopefully going forward, man. I mean, it's exciting news for UTRGV. I mean, first FBS D1 opponent that there's going to be on their schedule, and it's kind of a big brother program there. I mean, like you mentioned, the ties between Coach Bush and other people in that program. I mean, the UTSA was in this similar position years ago where they started their inaugural football program. UTRGV doing the same now, so it's kind of it's nice to see UTSA kind of like helping out a little in a sense, I guess, and scheduling a team like UTRGV, and it's going to be a fun one to watch, man. We've seen the way the Valley travels for high school games to the Alamo Dome or just in the San Antonio general area in general. So I expect much of the same when UTRGV goes up there to play UTSA at the Alamo Dome. I mean, those places they get rocking during high school games. I can only imagine now that a D1 football team is going to be playing there. And there's also ties within the team. There's guys from the San Antonio area that maybe got overlooked by UTSA. It might be a little bit more personal for them going back to their hometown. So just a lot of things in this one that make it so exciting. And then, it's the first of many, I'm assuming, not just UTSA, but other FBS D1 opponents will eventually come knocking too. And it'll be fun, but it's good to get the first one in the books and make it a little South Texas rivalry there, UTSA, UTRGV facing off. There's only 3 hours, 3.5 hours separating these two teams. And it should make for a really, really exciting one there in San Antonio. Mark your calendars, guys. September 5th, 2026. Tickets might go quick, so you better hop on those real quick. I mean, you know how hard those are to get here. Now imagine now that UTSA, you got a lot of people from here that have their kids go up there for college and stuff like that. So it's really exciting to see, man.
Yeah, the 956 versus the 210, man. It's going to be a matchup. I know they got the 210 on the they've had it on the side of their helmet. You know what I mean? They wear the decals and everything. So now UTRGV got the 956 against the 210, the college football level, man. That'll be fun to watch. So yeah, that's exciting, man. And for UTRGV, yeah, that's a growing program. This is what you want. You want these opportunities, and we'll see what the Vaqueros can do next season. Uh, September 5th on the road against UTSA. That'll probably be UTRGV's week 2 game. They'll probably have a non-conference game before that, but that's all in the air. UTRGV will play 3 non-conference games next season. One of them will be against UTSA. Those other 2 non-conference opponents to be determined, and then of course 9 Southland Conference games as they move from an 8-game Southland Conference schedule this season to a 9-game Southland Conference schedule next season. So UTRGV, man, I mean, big things on the horizon. But before we get there, Ivan, 3 more games for the Vaqueros here in year 1 as they enter the fourth quarter of their regular season. 2 games at home, 1 on the road in McNeese, sandwich in between. So we'll see what the Vaqueros can do. They can close out their inaugural season. So with that said, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Valley Ball Podcast, talking UTRGV Vaqueros football. You can catch everything at rgvsports.com on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube for all our coverage of UTRGV Vaqueros football. And you can catch the Vaqueros live in action 5 p.m. Saturday at Vackar Stadium. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Valley Ball Podcast, talking UTRGV Vaqueros football. We'll catch you next time.